US and Russian officials are meeting in Saudi Arabia today to discuss ways to end the war in Ukraine without any representatives from Kyiv. The talks come after a phone call last week between Presidents Trump and Putin. French President Emmanuel Macron, meanwhile, hosted fellow European leaders in Paris yesterday to discuss the EU's defence capacity as well as the war. The leaders did find some common ground.
There was agreement and unanimity that a significant increase in defense spending is absolutely necessary, and there is no need to get irritated if an American ally says, spend more, be stronger, and more resilient, because those words are definitely justified by facts.
OK, let's bring in Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan, who's been following this for us, with a focus, of course, on the talks that take place in Saudi Arabia today. Greg, what can we expect from the conversations between Russian and US officials in Riyadh?
Well, first of all, this is a lot about establishing communication. This is a major policy reversal from the Biden administration, which largely sought to isolate Russia and eschewed high-level contacts with them. There was very little communication between the Biden administration and Russia. And suddenly now you have face-to-face talks and potentially a leaders' summit. Of course, also we'll be looking for what comes of any potential leaders' summit. Can they arrange a meeting between Trump and Putin, which the U.S. has said they would like to do before the end of the month? And finally, people will also be watching closely what are the contours of any possible ceasefire agreement that Russia and the U.S. see as viable, and would that potentially work for Ukraine or others? So those are the main things that we're watching with this meeting coming today.
And Greg, we've been hearing from the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz making his views pretty clear in terms of Ukraine's absence from these peace negotiations. Let's take a listen.
It is completely premature and completely the wrong time to have this discussion now. I'm even a little irritated by these debates, I have to say. This is highly inappropriate, to put it bluntly and honestly.
So some pretty direct comments there, Greg, from the German Chancellor around these negotiations taking place in Saudi Arabia. What else have we been hearing from European leaders? Are you getting any sense, Greg, is the Trump administration open to listening to European concerns, to taking on board some of these concerns?
Well, I think you see a real worry among European leaders that the Trump administration just thinks they don't need them, that they can talk directly to Russia or others, and that Europe is not necessarily a player here. They're scrambling to formulate the response and figure out a way to convince the Trump administration that they need to be present in any dialogues on European security and that they deserve a place at the table. Now, of course, one particular sticking point, which we heard from Tusk earlier, is defense spending. Can Europe step up to the plate, help provide security guarantees for Ukraine, help provide for their own security? We know that Trump has been long critical of NATO spending among other NATO members, defense spending. So that's a real sticking point. But nonetheless, we have the sense that Europe is scrambling to formulate their response to a Trump administration they see moving quite rapidly.